In this video, we're going to be writing equations of lines based on certain information that I give you. Okay, so when you write an equation for a line, it needs to end up in either slope-intercept form or standard form, and really, I don't care which one. But if you're doing this in my math lab is very picky, so make sure that you do whatever method they say to do. All right, so here, write an equation for the described line where it has the slope of -3/7 and going through the ordered pair 4, -5. Now, one way is to just go ahead and start with the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So here's what I suggest you do. You know that in part of this, you're going to have to multiply the slope times x. If I multiply the slope times x and the denominator doesn't reduce away with that x value, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm not actually going to plug in the x, the y, and the b, or the x, the y, and the slope, excuse me. Instead, I'm just going to kind of play around with this and leave the b out there. Leave the y and the x playing around. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say that y equals, plug in the slope, -3/7 x plus, I don't know my b value. I'm just going to write 3 dots there. I'm going to come back to that. I just don't want to worry about it right now. Okay, I'm going to try to make things as nice and easy so that we don't have to deal with a bunch of fractions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this form, even with the 3 dots there on the right side, and I'm going to try to convert this to standard form. Okay, now remember, standard form has both the variable terms on the left side, and then you're going to have the constant term on the right. So the first thing is to go ahead and move this x term back to the left, where it's supposed to be. So now we have 3/7 x plus y equals some number. And again, I'm going to get to that number, but I'm still trying to get in standard form first. So standard form says both of the variable terms need to be on the left, and I've got that. But it also wants you to have no fractions, and it also wants this guy to not be a negative. Well, fortunately, this is already a positive, so we're in good shape there. We just don't want to have fractions. So we use the same trick we've been using all the time, which is to clear out the fractions by multiplying times the LCD. My LCD here is 7. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation times 7. So when I do that, these 7's reduce, and I'm left with 3x. When the 7 distributes to the y, we get 7y. 7 times something that's unknown is still going to be unknown. But now I'm ready to figure out what that unknown value is. Yeah, I know I multiplied times 7, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going into standard form, and the number we get right here is going to be completing the standard form. It's not going to be completing the slope-intercept form. There is a distinction there. And you might be wondering, well, how do I complete this? Well, if you've watched the other videos in this section, you already know that the trick, if we even call it that, is to take the ordered pair that we have, this solution, and plug those coordinates in for x and y. So what we do, in a little thought bubble down here, we're going to say 3 times 4 plus 7 times y, which is -5. And then we just work this out. So we have 12 minus 35, and we get -23. So that is the number that goes on the right side of the equation. Please understand, it's not the number that goes here, because this unknown number ended up being multiplied times 7. So what we have is our answer in standard form. And we didn't have to really work with fractions. The most difficult thing we had was to distribute the 7. That's really no big deal. Now, here is another way of working the same problem. You can go back to where it says y equals mx plus b. And what we know is that we know the slope, we have a very particular x and y value, and we just don't know the b. So what we can do, one method, is to just plug everything into this. Solve it for b to find that b value for the slope-intercept form, and then you go back and you have your answer in slope-intercept form. It's actually quite simple. But you're going to see that we have to deal with fractions in this case. But again, fractions are just numbers. We don't need to be scared of those. So y equals negative 5. The slope is negative 3 over 7. X is 4, and I still have to figure out what b is. Alright, so this is negative 5. If it helps, you write that as 4 over 1. And you multiply, you get negative 12 over 7. Remember to multiply fractions, you multiply numerators, you multiply denominators. And now we need to add 12 over 7 to both sides. So one of the problems we run into is that these guys are not fractions with like denominators. So we do have to address that issue. So to prepare for that, I'm going to go ahead and write that as negative 5 over 1. And this guy is missing this factor of 7, so it can be just like the other one. So negative 35 over 7 plus 12 over 7 equals b. Combine these guys, and we get negative 23 over 7. Does that look familiar at all? Here's negative 23, and here's the 7. So these guys are very closely tied to each other. So now that I've got my b, and I was given my slope at the very beginning, I can then write my equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 3/7 x minus 23 over 7. So this is your answer in slope-intercept form. And this guy right here is in standard form. All right? So make sure that you pay attention and you read so you know what you're supposed to do in each problem. All right, let's move on to another one. So here is an example of one where it's passing through 2 points. It's kind of frustrating because they don't tell you the slope. But good news for us is that we already know the formula for the slope. So remember that the formula for slope is the change in y over the change in x. So whenever you are using this formula, you need to make sure that you are careful whenever you plug things into this formula. So go ahead and rewrite it like this. Parentheses minus parentheses in both the numerator and the denominator. That way we understand that there's subtraction that is inherent in the formula, and then we're using parentheses to plug things in correctly, because I've seen students not use parentheses and they get off with their signs. All right, so y2 and y1, what does that mean? Well, if you label these and you say this is x1, then that has to be y1. That's x2 and that's y2. So those little subscripts, that just denotes between the first order pair versus the second order pair. All right, so y2 is 7. y1 is, there we are at negative 2. x2 is negative 1. And x1 is positive 2. And then from here, I just want to clean things up a little bit so that we are very careful with our signs. So that becomes a plus 2 in the numerator, and in the denominator, this is negative 1 minus 2. Some students will probably skip steps, but if you find that you are having a lot of issues with your signs, step by step, slow down, take your time. All right, so this becomes 9 over negative 3, which means that our slope is negative 3. Great. It's a nice integer value, so that should make the rest of this problem pretty simple. Because now, if we go back to y equals mx plus b, we can plug in everything that we need. So we can plug in your slope that we just found. You can choose either of these ordered pairs to plug in, and then we just have to find out that b value. Okay? So it comes down to whatever you choose. You may choose to use this for your x and y or that for the x and y. It really doesn't matter because you'll get the same thing. I know you don't believe me, so let's do it both ways and see. So if I use this first one, y is -2, the slope is -3, and x is +2. Alright, so we get -2 is equal to -6 plus b. Add 6 to both sides to get b by itself. And we find that our b value is +4. Alright? Well, what if we do it the other way? What if we use the other ordered pair? Does it make a difference? Does it change the b value? So my y value is now 7. My slope is -3, and x is -1. Alright, so 7 is equal to +3 plus b. We subtract 3 on both sides, and we find that 4 equals b. It's the same thing. So it doesn't really matter which ordered pair you use. It's still part of the same line, and that line is going through the ordered pair 0, 4, because remember, b corresponds to that y-intercept. So now, take your b, take your slope, and let's write our equation. So our equation, in slope-intercept form, y equals -3x plus b. And that's really all we have to do. If you want to put this in standard form, you just need to move the 3x to the other side. So that becomes a +3x plus y equals 4. There aren't any fractions. The leading coefficient is positive. So everything about that guy is just fine.